Well, hello. I'm here today with Talon. Talon's working with me now to, we want to answer some questions that you guys have from our videos. So we're going to just dive into that right now on our first few products. Go ahead, Talon. You asked me the questions as you've been diving through. What have people been asking?
What are our purpose in our parts? What do they actually really do? What works good with our parts? What doesn't?
As I set off in this journey, it was just coming up with solutions that work best for the Bronco. You know, our ideas were, how can we make the Bronco platform, which is already a great platform, make it better? You know, find the weak points and improve on it. So one of the first weak points, as everybody knows, that I came across and found was the steering. So we came up with a steering bushing that allowed us to put lift and tires on the Bronco.
And what does this steering bushing entail? Why is it a good part? You know, I think a lot of people, whoa, why are we paying this much for a piece of plastic?
Very good question. So this piece of plastic solves a major problem. And the best thing to think of is you're not paying for a piece of plastic, you're paying for a solution. You know, understanding that what's all involved, I mean, I've got a lot of money in attorney fees and in design fees and tooling, website, and all this stuff to bring it to market. But the biggest thing is this a solution that solves your steering issues? So it's a safety, number one. You know, nobody wants to lose their steering. So I have other videos, if you're interested, go back, watch some of my videos on more in depth on what the part does. But in just short, this part, when inserted into the rack, adds additional support to the rack and pinion. The slack adjuster housing that normally breaks, with this support, it will not break no more. What
do you need this part in? Like, is it, if you're gonna lift the Bronco, put bigger tires, or would you recommend even this product in a stock Bronco and just pavement princess slash weekend warrior when you're, you know, doing a little off-roading, but nothing crazy?
So, good question. I get that question a lot. From what we've seen, the only failures that we've seen have been on lifted or bigger tires, okay? Or a combination of the two. So I tell people, at the very least, if you plan on lifting and putting on tires, you want to put this part in. Having said that, it's good insurance. You know, for $350 and, you know, 30-40 minutes of your time to install it, for me personally, I would say I would do it. Is it required, or is it something that is absolutely necessary? We haven't seen a failure, so I'm not going to tell somebody that I think, oh, you have to do it on all Broncos. Where this is necessary, or what we're seeing is that in a situation of lift, tires, and then you're taking it out mudding, or you're taking it out rock crawling, and you're adding that additional stress to the rack, is where this is necessary.
Okay. So as a consumer standpoint, let's say you've got the shop guy who does all the mechanic in the shop, and then you got some guy that maybe just has, you know, a couple handful of tools. Can any of those guys install it? Is it an easy enough part to install for the guy that's just a weekend warrior that doesn't have much mechanical experience?
So the feedback that I've gotten so far with the first couple hundred of these that have gone out is, hey, great solution and easy to install. Now, everybody has a little bit different level, like you said. So some guys it's going to take them a little bit longer. You know, I've got it down to where I can install one of these in 20 minutes, you know, from taking the wheel off to being done. But I've done it over and over and over again. I would say the average person can do it in an hour.
So not very long at all.
No, it's a pretty easy thing to do. If you don't feel comfortable, or if you have zero mechanical experience, then have a shop do it.
Okay.
And I would, you know, maybe call around and negotiate with them and say, listen, this is an hour job. If some shop is trying to charge you 2, 3, 4 hours to do this, then I would question that for sure. So a good point to bring up is that an hour of time putting this in, as opposed to hours trying to get your Bronco off of whatever mountain you're on, it's not like it's all that easy to get a vehicle that you can't steer back home. So it's that, and it's added value. I mean, okay, so $300 worth of insurance could save you thousands of dollars. Whether or not you can get the warranty to cover it, it's going to cost you at least $2,000 to $3,000 to have that rack replaced. And once the damage is done, the damage is done. So with this product, if you have any further questions, I encourage you to watch our other videos, or please comment down in the comments below. We love the questions. We love answering them. We love trying to make sure that we can make this easier for you. So the other product that we're really excited about, and that we've seen a lot of success with out on the trail, is our Buster Brace. We want to go into more how this solves your problem. and why this is a necessity before you brake.
So why not just add, stronger, beefier tie rods to a Bronco versus this part?
Good question. I've experimented, as everybody knows, with multiple options. In fact, I have on one of my Broncos up until this last weekend still experimenting with different tie rods, from Heim joints to I took Raptor F-150 tie rods, machined it down, made it to where it would fit, and now I had a beefier tie rod. So I've experimented with a lot of different things, and what I found is that, number one, this solves the problem. This here, when it's added on there, and you've now captured that, you're not going to brake here anymore. Okay. And so that's one of the problems it solves. The other problem it solves is time and money. So if you go and remove a tie rod and you put an aftermarket tie rod on, now you're going to be a lot more time. You're going to spend 3 times the amount of time, 10 minutes to install one of these, as opposed to pulling your wheel off, pulling the tie rod off, the outer, popping the outer, popping the inner, taking it, putting the new one on. Then you got to adjust your steering. Well, none of us in our shop or at home are equipped to align our vehicle. So what are we doing? We're going to have our vehicle aligned. Now that's another trip, more time, and more money. Depending on where you take it, you're probably anywhere from $100 to $150 to do an alignment. So that's more cost. Whereas with this part, you're able to put it on and without having to change your alignment and without avoiding any type of factory warranty.
So with this product now installed, is there any concern or anything that you see weak points? I think is something traveling, weak point traveling somewhere to where you're creating another issue, or with this product and the bushing, are you resolving those issues?
Good question, and I get that question a lot. Once you fix one solution, are you not pushing it somewhere else? You can see right here that is very thin, very small. And so early on we talked about, is that going to be our next fail point? So the best thing to think about is, think about a truss. Truss on a house, you have the strongest part is in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. Where it comes down and it sits on your walls is very small, very thin. All your stress as your wheel is flexing. So think about this. It's in the rack. You have your wheel and the knuckle and everything right here. And as that tries and grabs, let's say you're in the mud and you're sitting there spinning, and all of a sudden you make contact with something because you want contact. That's how it gets you out. Or if you're rock crawling and all of a sudden your front end's kind of lifted, you're crawling something, your front end makes contact, that shock comes right to here in the middle. Okay. And breaks it. So with, in our testing, what we found is that no, we're no longer breaking a tie rod. And here's an important note to point out. I highly recommend, if you're going to put on our buster brace, that you definitely install the bushing, because that could be a fail point. If now you're forcing all that to that slack adjuster, that could break. So this is something that I strongly recommend. This and this together is the best combination.
Here we go.
So now that you've got this for the Bronco, is there this same thing that'll work on other vehicles?
So this one specifically won't, because each tie rod from each manufacturer has differences. For instance, here's a tie rod right here that's very, very similar. As you look at it, there's not a lot of differences. This is actually off of a Ranger. A Ranger is built off the same platform, but the Ranger has a different steering rack. The Ranger has a different tie rod. So yes, we are working on modeling up this part to work on the Ranger. We're working on for the FJ Cruiser, for the Toyota Tacoma. Those are some of the first ones that people have asked us about. But then we're going to start working on some of the more obvious ones, like, well, the Duramax. Everybody's seen Duramax is doing the Bronco hugs, right? Now, one of the important things that I would ask you guys is, I want your comments. Let me know if there's vehicles out there that you see problems with on tie rods that we could help solve that problem. Let me know. We're there to help solve your problems. Our next product, our last product here that we have out currently, is a shock skid. So yeah, we just actually went and picked these up. We're getting ready to ship out our first group of orders today.
Tyler, why do we need this? What's the purpose of this? Why should I have this versus just running stock?
So anybody that has a Bronco and that has climbed underneath, especially after going out and doing some stuff in it, will notice the rear shock mounts is the lowest hanging point. And you'll have your differential up here. That shock skid hangs way down. It's got a sharp point on it, digs into the rock. So there's two reasons. You know, reason number one, we want to protect the shock and the shock reservoir, and we want to give a point for, so if you look at this angle, that's about the angle that it sits on the vehicle. So as you approach a rock, it's going to grab that rock and it's just going to pull the vehicle up and over it instead of hanging into it. So we have 2 other videos that we've already put out that goes more into depth on how it actually does mount on, you know, how to install it and what it does. So I refer you to go back and look at those if you're interested, or comment and we can try and answer your questions.
Hey Tyler, as a consumer, why do you have this where we have to actually put the shock bolt through versus just one that you mount on, you know, without doing that?
When we went through the design of this, we decided, okay, we're not going for maybe what's the easiest. Of course, we want to make it as easy as for you, the consumer, as we can, but we want what's the strongest and what's going to hold up the best. So, you know, there are other designs out there that do not capture the shock mount bolt.
Okay.
And the problem with that is in my opinion, they're not going to hold up as well. You know, you got a bolt here, you know, a little bracket maybe that holds up something else somewhere, and you know, you're going to take the force potentially of the whole back end of that truck is going to come up on a rock, and the whole thing is we want to be able to slide up and over it. And so when you do that, you need some better mounting points than just a couple of little, you know, even though grade 8 bolts are great, you're going to bend stuff, you're going to, you know, you're going to move this around too much unless you have it mounted more secure.
Okay, so here's the other question. As a consumer, we all like free crap. So when are you going to start giving some of this stuff away?
I don't know. Should I give something away?
I think you should.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We're going to give away a set of shock skids, and 2 ways to enter into this. First, go on and comment on this. First 100 comments, we're going to enter into a drawing. Second way would be to take and share this to your Facebook. Make sure and tag us in it, because otherwise there's no way of us to track it. The possibility for you to have 2 entries into this, and in 2 weeks we'll do a drawing and we'll give one of these sets away.
So my final question, Tyler.
Yep.
Is this product, you know, the other products you said were proudly made in the US. So has this product been an outsourced product to like China, or is this still on that same track of 100% made in the US, you know, everything locally built and outsourced?
Everything that we are making will be 100% built and made in the US. This, no different. We just went and picked this up from Powder Coat just down the street here in Preston, Idaho. So we're employing local people to make our products, and proudly everything from materials to labor is made in the USA.
Hey Tyler, how do you get a wider stance like the current Broncos you're running at the moment?
With these? So, of course, I get questions daily on wheel spacers, and they have a bad reputation, and really for a good reason, because if they're not built right, they're not going to work right. So here, just if you can zoom in, this is one that I've been running for about 5,000 miles now, and you'll see it cracks. It's starting to crack all the way through. So again, what are we doing? We're going through and figuring out the ways to make the Bronco better. Of course, we need a wider stance. A wider stance makes us, you know, more capable off-road. It allows us to add those bigger tires without rubbing. But we want to do it in a way that allows us to be safe doing it. So I don't blame you for having those concerns, because we're going to come out with a product that is stronger material, that's designed better, and is hub-centric, specifically designed for the Bronco so that we don't have those kind of issues. Also, stay tuned to this, because I think you'll be really excited about what we're doing on that. So if you want to watch more of our content, please like and subscribe, as we will roll out more of these products to you.